Copy, I'll do that. So Brent has gone into the block. He's over here. He's got tracks. They're heading the way we are, just to the north of where we are. So we're going to head around and see if we can't pick him up. Well, not him, the leopards.
Second rock. I'm just going to head up to those Ngala and please come to them.
So many different South African words that we will use out here. Veld being one. So high veld, I've used the term low veld quite a lot. Basically means lowlands. So we are in the lowlands of South Africa, the northeastern lowlands. And just above the Drakensberg Mountains, which you might see off to the west. No, it's a bit hazy. You can see a few mountains off there. But just to the west of that is the high veld, or the highlands. And that's the Drakensberg escarpment that you can see there. And the low veld is between sort of 200 meters above sea level up to probably about 800. That's certainly the elevation difference within the Kruger National Park. And we're in that piece of area now, so not very high up. I didn't tell you that even though it is blustery and cold, the temperature is very pleasant. It's about 24 degrees Celsius. That's apparently 74 degrees Fahrenheit if you're living in the 18th century. So very pleasant out here. It's a little bit windy. And of course the wind does make tracking a little difficult. So I'm going to have to look at the road very carefully as opposed to looking you in the eye. I've mentioned this before, but we had a wonderful question once, and we had a question once about why do we only check for tracks on the right-hand side of the vehicle? And the answer, of course, is that because animals only walk on the right-hand side of the road. That, of course, is not the answer at all. It's simply because I can only see out of the right-hand side. Brian has to look at the left when it's needed. I was standing on that termite mound, made mention of the fact that I enjoy being tall sometimes. It's nice to feel like Brian and Brent. I think it's what they feel like. And Pamela, you say, is it nice to feel like an elephant? And did I ever feel like an elephant? Pamela, I would be able to answer that question if I knew what an elephant felt like. I imagine that my mass, being what it is, probably precludes me ever feeling exactly like an elephant, but it was nice to feel tall for a little while. I think an elephant probably feels a bit bulkier than I do, though. So very slowly make our way around this block. Staring into the bushes for the golden-coloured, black-spotted, white-tailed, white-bellied magnificence that is the iconic Panthera pardus, the African leopard. Two of them in this case.
Crossing into Bomola.
Kind welcoming for Rusty. Thank you for all of your comments. She does need all the encouragement she can get. Gerda, you say from your 22nd row seat she seems very comfortable. That is entirely because you're in the 22nd row. Rusty is one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever sat in. Indeed, I believe it to be Rusty's rather shocking shock absorbers that did Brian's head in eventually. Here is Brent Leo Smith.
Hello.
Hello, Brent Leo Smith.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Brian. Hello.
What have you found?
Just tracks of the mail.
Coming which way?
Heading straight back towards the brown ivory.
Because the female tracks that we had today were going from just about here, that way.
Yeah, these tracks are well, so just below where we were today.
Yeah.
I decided just to check a little bit further to the southwest, and we've got tracks on a big game path of just the male.
Okay.
But I can't see any female tracks. But last track's probably 70 meters, 80 meters, but heading literally straight back towards that brown ivory tree. So I'm going to just zigzag back to Andrew through the block.
Okay.
And there's nothing coming out that side.
Tree. No, not that I saw. There's been a lot of wind.
Yeah, very windy today.
I don't think so, though.
Okay.
Right, I'll go to the Battle 90s tree.
See you later.
We'll reconnoiter later on. And likewise, Janet, you have welcomed Rusty to the team, to the family, saying she's part of a very special team of vehicles. Well, yes, special can be used in many ways, I suppose. Thank you for that, Janet. Certainly got a very quiet engine, although quite thirsty for oil apparently today. An entire gallon of oil into a car is slightly worrying, especially as it didn't overflow. Lots of concern for Brian's injuries today. That's very kind of all of you. Thank you. Brian, do you feel loved?
I do.
Very good. Well done.
Thank you.
Cecilia, you say you've heard that Brian has been impaled by an aerial. Mercifully, that did not happen. An impaling is possibly the worst way to go. He was just bashed on the head by the aerial. Thankfully, it didn't impale him. Reading actually about the most famous impaling in South African history, and that was the Boer commander Piet Retief, who received what can only be described as a very unpleasant sharp suppository from the Zulu king Dingaan in 1838. Ilakuvona tiyingwe phela mara tingena kwalana ayivona inkonzo so ikombele mingene mikume tiyingwe yatilawe ngopfu ithi kume inkonzo shishile yeah okay cool enjoy. That was a Taxon. Taxon works at Juma, Vuyatela. All of these names, I keep thinking, must be tremendously confusing. Juma is the reserve we work on. There are two camps on Juma, called Vuyatela is the one, and Galago is the other. And these guys, Taxon comes from, well, they work from both. Taxon and Aubrey work from both, and Tax is now thankfully going to help us look for this leopard. And of course he's got a tracker on the front of his vehicle, which is extremely useful. A very skilled Shangaan tracker. So yesterday we've been doing quite a lot of walking of late, which is initially was just because Jigga was down, and I've had a wonderful time on foot out here, especially when we're driving around and there's perhaps not any really large game. It's really good fun to get down on the ground and show you some of the smaller things and show you some of the great detail that perhaps we miss a little bit when we're on the vehicle. And Sandy in Indiana, you were watching 2 days ago when I showed you the hole of a baboon spider, which is basically the South African equivalent of a tarantula. And you wanted to know why it is that there wasn't a web across the hole, because you thought that's how they catch their prey. It isn't how they catch their prey, they're hunters. So they come out of the hole and they'll grab things as they come past, and they use their strength rather than webs. They can make silk, and the hole is certainly lined with silk, and sometimes there's a light covering over the hole, but normally the holes are open, and they take their prey by force, basically. Nice question. Thank you, Sandy. Very observant of you. Must keep watching the tracks. There's nothing more ignominious as a ranger than to drive over the tracks of an animal that everyone else is trying to track. And for those who perhaps don't know, a track, of course, is a footprint, simply a footprint. It could also, well, not tracks, but a spoor, which might indicate a spoor would be tracks and dung or any other sign that there could be. The other thing that mating leopards will do is move around a lot within an area, so they won't necessarily lie still. Especially on a cool day like this, after the thirsty work of mating 5 or 6 times an hour. They will need some form of sustenance. And also, they just walk across the road rather than walk along it for a while. You know, if I turn around vaguely like that and then back to the road, it's very easy to miss them. So we need to be particularly careful. So we'll stop here. It's going to stop here and have another listen. We're now at the opposite end of the blocks from the one that we were at when we started, on the termite mound. And Jennifer, in Toronto, you say you had a pet chicken once, and you called it Rusty, and it was an abject lesson in why you shouldn't name farm animals. I'm assuming, Jennifer, that Rusty became part of a Christmas dinner, or perhaps just a Sunday lunch at some stage. I'm sorry about that. It must have been a traumatic experience. I'm hoping desperately that Rusty here will not ever form any kind of meal for me. Sorry about that, Jennifer. I don't mean to make light of what must have been a traumatic experience for you. I think these things are not in here anymore, we know that. I think they've given us the slip. What's going on? Where did we leave off? Alright, sorry about that, everyone. I think you lost our sound for a second. I think something attacked what is known as a TriCaster, a tremendously complicated piece of equipment around which Louise and Tara sit. Anyway, we were just talking about Jennifer's chicken called Rusty, which possibly ended up on the Sunday lunch buffet table. Sorry about that, Jennifer. As we say, our sympathies and condolences to the loss of Rusty. On we go. I didn't hear anything. I know you didn't hear anything at all either, because the audio was off, but I didn't hear anything in the way of mating leopards either. Lots of welcome for our new friend Rusty. And Valerie, you've noticed that the jack is a lot quieter than it was yesterday. Yes, indeed it is. You can see the exceptional repair job I did of it with that wonderful stuff called duct tape. and that's why it's not rusting, at least rattling. It's definitely rusting, but it's not rattling. Now, on the off chance that these leopards have crossed this road, please let me not have seen another tree or log. I have seen another tree, not a leopard at all. Dash. So I think what we're going to do, just on the off chance that they have crossed this road, we're going to head up back towards quarantine clearings. And there was a beautiful little family of giraffe there, which I want to go and look at. They're youngster, tiny little one, probably about 3 months old. Mercedes-Benz. I didn't realize Alex could operate the TriCaster all the way from Moscow. Geniusy. So disappointing. Disconcerted by the colour on the screen. Sorry about that, everyone. We're back again. I'm not sure where we left off, but we're going to try and find a little herd of giraffe which were seen up near quarantine earlier on, and maybe those leopards have headed that way as well. I would say that at this stage of the game, well, we need to we'll probably tag team the tracking, otherwise you will all become very bored as we drive around the place. Cecilia, while we're driving along here looking for the giraffe, you want to know what language I'm speaking. At the moment I'm speaking the Queen's English. It is quite widely spoken around the world. That's just a facetious, sarcastic answer. And I do know what you mean. You mean what language was I speaking to Taxon? Taxon is from a group of people called the Shangaan people. And so the language I was speaking was Shangaan. I think it's a very lovely lilting language, and that's what I was speaking. I don't speak it very well, but I can get by on conversations, and especially in a game reserve where my vocabulary is kind of tailored to being in a game reserve or in a rural area, and I can get by okay. Thank you, Cecilia. Let's give Brent a little update. And no updates, Brent. We're going to go and follow up on a herd of giraffe quarantine.
Probably makes sense. Go on and track back to the team. We'll wait after the block. And we'll do one more loop around the area. If I get back, I'm going to go for that one. Track in my head.
Right, so Brent is going to do one more loop around. You may or may not have heard him. He's been talking to me on the radio there. He's going to do one more loop around this area, see if he can't pick something up. If he can't, he's going to go back towards where he had some other male leopard tracks this morning. Now this quite excites me. He was off in the eastern side of the reserve, and I'm hoping against hope that my favourite male leopard of this area, Mvula, has come back for a visit. And he really is due a bit of a visit here, because you know, Tingana spent so much time on Arethusa of late that this whole area has been devoid of any male leopard activity. And so I really hope that he does pitch up at some stage in this area, possibly with his sons. Goodness gracious, a great outpouring of questions from Mercedes in San Francisco. Mercedes, very valid questions. I'm just going to consider how to answer them best. You've asked some very interesting ones about the lions. Right, so over the last little while we've had 3 or 4 prides of lions out of territory within this area, and this is the territory of the Nkuhuma pride mainly. Now, what that means, or the question that Mercedes is asking, is why on earth were there so many lions inside an area that is not theirs? Is there perhaps some kind of habitat loss through all the lodges and the airstrips that is being built on Arethusa? Is that infrastructure taking away habitat that the animals could live in? Mercedes? No. None of that is happening. It's a very interesting development, but it's got nothing to do with any kind of roads or lodges or anything like that. The place is not overpopulated with lions. The lions are in a state of enormous flux, and that is caused by the coalition takeover of the Birmingham boys, the 5 young male lions who've taken this area over from the Matimba males, who were the dominants until very recently. Now what that's done, oh, there's a little giraffe there lying down. Mercedes, I'm going to get back to your question right now. I just want to go up to the adults in front of us there. Oof. And there's a little giraffe lying down. I'm going to stop here first. Now, people often ask, do giraffe lie down? That giraffe is not growing out of the ground, as it might seem. It is lying down. That is how a giraffe lies down. It's really, really special to see. They just fold their legs up underneath them. They can't put their heads on the ground, because if they do that, the pressure in the brain becomes too large, and the brain will eventually go pop, which, well, it's very unpleasant for all concerned. So they lie like that with their heads up, and he looks like he's growing out of a burrow or something like that. Let's go a little bit closer. I'm going to say that the one in front of us, just before we move, the other one, sorry, that one in front of us there, that Brian has just got hold of now, I think is the mother of the little one on the ground there, and that's because they're a similar colour. Although the other one's going to say hi. That other one I've seen with another small one. Look at that, isn't that wonderful? Sorry, I can't get close just yet, everybody. I just wanted to let this play out, because I'm pretty sure that youngster will stand up. Yes, no, that one in front of us is definitely not the mother of anything. It will never be a mother. It has got far too much going on between its legs. It is a bull. There we go. You've seen it get up. So that's, oh look, the little one's suckling there. So I was talking absolute nonsense to you there. Little one is suckling from its mum. That's really amazing to see. And look how awkward it must be for them. Let's see if we can get a good look between the tail there. But the athletic prowess required to suckle as a giraffe is quite something. Stop, everyone. Sorry about the squiggly picture. That's because we just don't want to take our eyes off the giraffe. At the same time, there we go. It's probably about as good as it's going to get, I think. Isn't that wonderful? That's really amazing to see. I don't believe that I've ever seen that before for this length of time. Very, very special. So that other giraffe coming into your picture, or in your picture there now, is a bull giraffe. Just sneak a little bit further forward. Beautiful giraffes. I'm just going to quickly finish while we're looking at these lovely giraffes. I'll just finish Mercedes' question. So, Mercedes, the Birmingham boys have created great upheaval in the land, and they've killed 3 of the Nkuhuma pride lionesses in the last little while. And what that's done, I think, has caused them to stop marking territory. They ran off into the Kruger for a while, and I think because of that, no one was marking territory here. This must have seemed like a vacuum to the Shimungwe pride, the Talamati pride, and the Salala pride. Coupled with that is the predictable movement of the buffalo during this very dry part of the season to and from the water, and I think those 2 factors have combined to draw other lions into an area that they wouldn't normally be in. So don't worry, it's got nothing to do with habitat loss or overpopulation or anything like that. It's just fascinating lion dynamics that we're witnessing. Right, from that relatively tall animal, we'll go to a pretty tall human being in the form of Brent Leo Smith. He's back on his car, and he will give you a little bit of an update on on the progression of his leopard tracking. We'll probably do another loop around here and see if we can't find the leopard, and if we can't, we'll head out and see what else we can see. See you just now.
Hi everyone. As you saw a little bit earlier, I've been meandering around the African bush on foot, trying to pull a cat out of the bush by the tail. And the last tracks I had were just of a male leopard heading in this general direction, but that little bit of rain we had has made the ground quite hard, so I'm getting tracks sort of every 20-30 meters, and it can be a little bit frustrating. So we're just going really slowly along here, trying to see if the tracks pop out. For those of you who are not so sure, I am Brent Leo Smith, and I'm going to be one of your guides, and I've got Andrew Francis on camera with me today, also known as the Bonnet Dancer. They're here, Andrew, they're here, but they're tormenting me. So those tracks I found now were probably only 100 meters from where I was walking this morning. Now, Andrew has to be a good bonnet dancer and such things, because I do leave him alone for quite a while when I go off in search of these wild beasts. On foot. So I'm hoping there's a big game path that runs through here, and I'm hoping those tracks come out on that game path. So here we're just approaching this prominent game path. There's 3 or 4 though that run in this area, and the strong wind is definitely going to make tracking quite difficult, and also hearing, and that's one of the best ways to find mating leopards. So on the discussion of mating leopards, Debbie from Vancouver, welcome on the back of the vehicle. And Debbie's wondering, well, it says Tingana doesn't seem to be too interested in Shadow. Would she move on and go find one of the other males, Anderson or Anderson or Vula? Very possibly, but she will make sure she's mated enough with him first that he possibly thinks that if there are cubs that they do belong to him, but she's more than likely going to mate with probably 3 or 4 other males on top of this to try and ensure the best possible chance for her cubs. Sorry, just listening to the game drive quickly. Cape Turtle Dove calling. There it is, sitting on the edge of that Peltiforum, Andrew. Weeping Wattle. Cape Turtle, Cape Turtle. Oh, got self-conscious. Not too much flying around in this windy weather. So a lot of leopard tracking comes down to educated guessing, especially when you don't have trackers with you and you don't have the time to spend 2 hours following those tracks on foot. So you've got to sort of make some educated guesses. If I was a leopard, where would I go from there? And I have a hunch. I'm going to go have a look now. I think there's been a lot of vehicle traffic on this road during the day, so I think it's quite possible that we might have missed tracks coming across here. And if I think about Tingana's territory more or less, the areas he likes to patrol, I think it's worth checking a secret road. Not many times does this road ever get checked by any of us. It is the domain of the tech people. It's nicknamed Eugene's Road, and it is where one of our repeaters that sends the signal out to you wherever you are in the world is stationed up on the high ground here, and there's a little access road that goes in there that we've nicknamed Eugene's Road because he does spend quite a bit of time up here. I think actually he spent quite a bit of time painting it today. So let's see if Tingana possibly crossed through here. If not, we don't get any luck in this area, we'll move out of the area and we will head towards where I had male leopard tracks coming in off the eastern boundary, and maybe we'll have a bit more luck around there. And then make our way back to this area a little bit later, and I'm hoping as the wind dies down, and then maybe we can get some audio. So if he hasn't continued through to the drainage line that runs in and out of the Djuma Dam, he might have headed back to the west, is my reckoning. Let's have a quick look down Eugene's Road. There's a very big prominent animal path that comes through there. And who knows what can be hiding on Eugene's Road? Also, this area has got a lot of aardvark in it, sandy soil, there's a lot of excavations, and we all know how Tingana likes an aardvark. So if any of you guys are new, Tingana went through a stage earlier this year where he killed quite a few aardvark It's an animal you really, very rarely see, and even more rarely see up a tree with a leopard. Eugene's Road, short and sweet. No tracks yet, but there we go. I'm just gonna. There's the repeater. Oh, we've got a very, very cute question in from Mario. Hi Mario, who's 6 years old. He would like to know what type of car we drive. Mario, we drive a short wheel-based Land Rover Defender. Mario would also especially like to know that because he would like to ask Santa for a Hot Wheels version of our vehicle so he can play Safari at home. Well, I think that's a splendid idea, Mario. So all is quiet on the western front. So I think maybe it is time to move along and see what's happening in the east and come back into this area a little bit later. So, of all the wonderful animals we get out here, Paul Rizzo says he needs an Ellie fix. Well, hopefully either James or myself are going to be able to help you with that, Paul. I could definitely do with a nice big elephant bull at close range. Okay, let's move along. Times are wasting, things to be found. Thank you very, very much, Thomas. Thomas, who's stuck at home in Colorado, says he's been watching for about a year. Let's take this one last gamble. I can't give up just yet. And Thomas says, thanks very much to the whole Safari Live team for keeping him out of boredom. Well, it's our pleasure, Thomas. We really do appreciate you watching. Thomas also said he watched the movie The Ghosts in the Darkness last night, which is very loosely based off a book called The Man East of Savo. And for those of you who haven't watched it or don't know the story, I'll explain a little bit now. And believe it or not, the main executive producer of that movie I've taken on Safari. I had a long discussion about the certain key elements of that story that were completely incorrect. But what Thomas is asking, he said, well, what's the difference between Savo and Juma? Why are the lions there exclusively feeding off people? So obviously Hollywood likes to romanticize quite a lot of things, and so most of the people who were eaten by the man-eaters of Savo were pretty much, not quite, but almost slave labor that were brought out from India to build the railway line from Mombasa to Lake Victoria into Uganda. So it was a huge undertaking at that time, and the hygiene in those railway camps was not very good. So you had a lot of people who were sick and dying, and also the burials of all those people were also not possibly the best ever. So what happened is those young lions, and they were maneless male lions, very young male lions, they weren't those massively glorious beasts that were in the Ghosts in the Darkness. And so also the other very incorrect thing there. So basically, also let me get back to what I started before I go off on another rant. Those lions learned how to take people. People weren't sleeping in proper tents. There were a lot of sick people, a lot of dead and dying people from injuries from dysentery. So it became a very easy target for those lions. Those lions, interestingly enough, they are in the Chicago Field Museum, both of them. I possibly think there was a few more than 2 originally that were eating all those people. But there's possibly the most famous man-eaters in Africa, the man-eaters of Tsavo. And something. Oh, from the Ghosts in the Darkness movie, there's that wonderful character played by, what's his name? Kirk Douglas? Is it Kirk Douglas, Andrew? Michael Douglas. Kirk Douglas is his dad. That's it, Michael Douglas. Remington, an American big game hunter. He never existed. Complete fiction. Made him to make the story a little bit more dramatic. But I've actually visited Tsavo, and the lions there don't eat that many people anymore. Only the occasional silly one. But strangely enough, the largest population of man-eaters, or longest running stint of man-eating in Africa, is in the Greater Kruger National Park. It's estimated since the 1960s, possibly more than 100,000 people have been eaten by lions trying to cross the Kruger Park. This is quite a lot of them were Mozambicans running from the Civil War, and in more recent years, Mozambicans trying to get a better life of work and employment in South Africa. So illegal immigrants, obviously they can't go through the proper boundaries, so they do, it's called jump on my jazi, which basically means they jump the Kruger National Park fence to get to Johannesburg. So during our apartheid years, the South African military then put quite a strong military presence along that eastern boundary of the Kruger National Park, which caused people to start crossing at night, and that's where the man-eating got very, very bad. And that's probably the longest and still ongoing. I'm sure people get eaten in the Kruger probably once a month these days, maybe even a bit more than that. And then other famous man-eaters in Africa, not too, or a lot closer to Tsavo than our man-eaters down here. You know, the man-eaters of there was southern Tanzania, in the southern highlands. There was a pride of lions that were counted for taking about 60 to 100 people over a course of years, though, not all in sort of the one thing. And then probably the most famous of recent man-eaters was also in southern Tanzania, actually quite close to a place I used to work. And while I was working there, there were 2 people taken by lions in the villages surrounding our concession. And he was a little bit further to the east, and he was nicknamed Osama, this male lion, after Osama bin Laden. It was a young male lion. I think probably ate 30 or 40 people in an area of about 2 years. He was believed to be bewitched, a witch's pet, or a curse on the area. But it also found he had from a homemade poaching rifle, a musket, and had a musket ball embedded in his teeth. And he probably also, from human conflict, he got pushed out of the main Selous Game Reserve by bigger male lions. And he was forced out of the reserve, and then he came into conflict with people, and his natural prey had been removed from those areas. So cows, goats, and people became his new natural prey. And I think that was in 2003, 2004. But as in terms of sort of very rural and quite frequent man-eating occurrences, southern Tanzania and northern Mozambique probably have, outside of the illegal immigrants trying to cross the Kruger boundary, have the most man-eating in Africa at the moment. India, on the other hand, is very famous for man-eaters, specifically tigers and leopards. And that's also quite an interesting thing if you read Colonel Jim Corbett, who was the sort of most famous hunter of man-eaters in India. I think the most famous one was the Chipwata tigress, who was accounted for over 400 people before she was shot. So quite impressive there. And also quite a few famous man-eating leopards in India. And almost all of these really big bouts of man-eating coincide with a natural, a human sort of a disease outbreak. And the worst one, which caused this very famous leopard, I think it was I can't remember the exact name. What happened was there was a huge outbreak of dysentery while people were busy making their pilgrimage. And so in Hindu culture, you need to be cremated. But obviously, everyone dying along the side of this road, hundreds of thousands of people walking. So instead of cremating the bodies, they placed a single coal in a coal from a fire in the mouth of the deceased to sort of replicate that. And what happened is the leopards and tigers along that pilgrimage route started scavenging off the dead bodies of humans and then just progressed on to man-eating from there. But sure. Now, also there's some famous man-eaters in South America, in the Pantanal in Brazil, and very interestingly, the indigenous people who live in the Pantanal had before the advent of the rifle and whatnot, they were called zagueros, and they used to hunt jaguars, which are massive. It's the same size as a lioness, and the people there are really tiny, with dogs, and basically a very broad spear, and they would get the dogs to bay a jaguar and then entice the jaguar to charge, and then they would charge at the jaguar and stab it in the chest and just basically hang on. To say it wasn't a profession where you lived to old age, but it was a very, very sort of sought after profession in the 1800s, and that area where the original cattle farmers in the Pantanal would employ these local tribesmen to deal with the jaguars that were eating their livestock. Strangely enough, there's only ever been one recorded European guy by the name of Sasha Simel, and he's the only recorded European who's taken jaguar on the spear as a zaguero, and he spent most of his life living in the Pantanal, hunting jaguar for farmers. And obviously that was quite a long time ago, in the 60s or 70s. I think he passed away in the 60s or 70s. But there are these fascinating stories from all around the world. And I tend to read quite a lot, and I tend to read quite a lot about those things, or Africa and animals in general, and especially going back historically. A vast collection of old books on Africa. I have believe it or not, how this whole conversation started, I even have a first edition Man-Eaters of Savo. Hello? Hello, old men. It's windy and quite chilly. Lying in a nice little ball. A buffalo ball, or for any of those who know much about the ocean and bait balls, it's a lion bait ball. To the right on the ground. That looks very painful. So oxpeckers often are a help, but they're also a hindrance. There you go. You can actually see the oxpecker opening up a wound on that buffalo's testicle and eating the blood, drinking the blood. And you will find that oxpeckers will often keep wounds open on animals. And if I was that buffalo, I would definitely be, there we go, whacking him with my tail. A little red-billed oxpecker. And it's opened up a couple of wounds on that poor buffalo's testicles. Well, at least he's an old bull, so he doesn't have need of them anymore. He's retired from, what's the right word for this? Stag rights. He's just going to sit here with his old buddies, chew the cud, and think about the good old days when they were in the big breeding herds. Always such wonderful patterns on the buffalo bulls' bosses. You can see that reddish tinge there. It's probably been rubbing up against a guarri bush, having a scratch, and that's where that little reddish tinge comes from. Or a timberti possibly. You can hear a black cuckoo calling in the background. So sad. Oh, and you can see how those ticks and flies have really bitten that buffalo's ears. Hello, old boys. There you can go. If we go out a little bit, Andrew, you can see that very distinct motion of the jaw of a ruminant. There we go, just go in on the bottom jaw there. So that sideways action of a ruminant chewing the cud. Oh, incoming. Yes, and he definitely looks like he's not as impressed as the others with us. And these old boys, as I said, the best description is they look at you like you owe them money. Like a loan shark coming in for collection. Black cuckoo. So sad. When we used to do that, my grandmother said no, 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 no when she was teaching us bird calls. It doesn't say I'm so sad, it says I'm so glad. We must be positive. Although it is quite a mournful call to be glad to. Oh yes, both Pamela and Pretty Nightmare are right on spot. Pretty Nightmare says, oh, the gentleman's club. No ladies allowed. And Pamela says, retired from the dating scene. And by the looks of these boys, they've been out of the dating scene for a while. I think this could be the gentleman's old age club moment. And they like to spend their time around water holes and nice fresh grass around drainage lines. It's almost the equivalent of the gentleman's scotch and cigar. Yes, well, specifically that one on the left there, Pamela, I agree with Pamela. Pamela says he looks like someone from the IRS, an Internal Revenue Service, the tax man. Yes. Have you done your IRP 5 this year?
Negative.
Is it in order? I'm going to lock you up and take all your money. And so I missed the name there, but you see the white under the buffalo's eyes. Sue was wondering what that is. And it's actually just a lack of skin. Have a look. They do have preorbital glands there, but they're just getting old and they rub a lot of their hair off. I mean, if you look at the really old guy at the back, let me just go forward. There you go, he's lifting his head. You can see, and if you have a look at his body, he's almost got no fur left on his body. He's rubbed most of it off. And he's a very old boy. Sorry, there's a Franklin having a complete panic there. And then took off the ground. So doesn't mean it means it's not a predatory bird. Could it be these missing blooming cats that we've been in search of? So it could just be a slender mongoose, but that Franklin just shot up into the air. If it'd been a predatory bird, it would keep running along the ground. So always worth checking those little alarm calls like that. You never know what you might find. Sounded like it came from where I saw it fly out of this riverine vegetation here. There were also that other set of male leopard tracks coming in from the east. See anything, Andrew? Is that just a dead branch hanging down from that jackalberry? What was that? Andrew, what is that? Dead branch?
I've got no idea.
It almost looks like a tree climbing impala's feet. But unfortunately, I think it's a branch. It's amazing that it's branches, but we'll have a closer look. But I'm pretty sure it's a branch. I got really excited then for a second. I think let's go down into the riverbed and have a look from that side. I think it's branches. What do you think, Andrew? Branches.
Yeah.
Wonder what could have given that Franklin such a fright. Mysteries of the bush. What we're going to do is we're going to take you down, we're going to get under that tree and we can have a look. But that is one of the things we look for, especially in the summer when the foliage is a bit thicker. It's something that just dangles slightly differently. And let's just get onto the road. Strange enough, that's the second time I thought there's been something in that tree. The first time, it was Brian, and we just spotted a monkey tail hanging out, and we thought from a distance it might be a leopard tail. So, maybe third time's a charm. The next time we spot something in that tree, beautiful big jackalberry. And definitely a great leopard tree. But unfortunately, there's one of the Franklins that took off. They're looking a little bit more calm now. Maybe it was a territorial dispute, but there's this beautiful jackalberry or African ebony. And those branches to the right there are the ones that looked like possible hooves. So we're going to continue on. I'm going to head towards where I had those male leopard tracks coming in from the east this morning. And while we do that, we've got a few more questions on the buffaloes. and we saw that oxpecker keep irritating a wound in a very uncomfortable place for that buffalo. And Dennis and Lakeville's saying, well, do they have an anticoagulant in their saliva that will keep that wound open, such as similar to vampire bats and tiger fish, and what else? Sharks as well also have that. They don't. No, they'll just keep harassing. They'll actually even eat the clotted blood when it becomes harder, and that's how they open. They'll eat that clotted blood. So an oxpecker is quite aptly named because it does generally peck ticks and other ectoparasites and can be a help to a lot of animals. And Ravi in New York saying, but it would seem to be only after the blood. Well, Ravi, think what about a tick's filled with? A tick is filled with that animal's blood. So it is essentially the same thing. But generally, if these animals get a wound from fighting or from whatever it might be, the oxpeckers will take advantage of that to keep it open so they have a cycle of blood coming through there, as well as still eating ticks. A bit of both. Sorry guys, just checking and listening to the Game Drive channel there. So, if Tingana's down here with Shadow, these were big male leopard trucks we found this morning coming this way. It could be in Vula, who I haven't seen in an age. So he said that was a very much retired gentleman's club of buffalo who's just left. And I mentioned they were quite old. And Sharon, from the Lone Star State, is wondering how old exactly. I'd say those guys are probably around 15 years old, which isn't very old for a buffalo in the wild. Even in captivity, they don't get too much older than, I don't know, maybe 20s even pushing it. So probably those guys are between 13 and 15 years old. So that buffalo off to the left that we mentioned looked like a loan shark or an IRS agent. Had very deep curls, and Deborah was wondering, would they keep growing throughout its life so that eventually would curl back and touch the boss? Yeah, it does happen, and they do grow throughout their life, like fingernails. That's keratin, but very unusual for them to do full curves back onto the skull or onto the boss. So I'm hoping that there are going to be some tracks popping out in this little area coming up. Keeping out of the wind in the drainage line. Do you see them there, Andrew? Not the best view, but just to show you quickly. Some kudu. A female kudu. I did see a male, but we can't really see him with the camera. And if you go above her on the other bank, there's another one there. There we go. Well spotted. So, if the old bulls go to gentlemen retirement villas, what do the old females do? As Tim from Missouri is wondering. Well, what they do is they do stay with the breeding herds. They're not a competition to the younger females, where there is an old bull, if he gets a chance, would still mate. So, direct competition for the younger males, so they will push them out. Oh, we have to hunt this, Andrew. We have to. It'll be the first of the season, I think. Well, it will be for me. I can hear them. Paradise flycatcher. He's come back from Central Africa. Just heard it calling.
Over.
There we go. Further down in the drainage, huh? I'm just gonna have a quick look, see if we can find this flycatcher. Watch out there, Andrew. Very big white. The brackthorn. Naughty, Andrew. I saw that. Okay. That flycatcher was just in these little bushes here. Maybe we can call him out. Oh, he's gone to the other side of the drainage line. I can hear him calling, but he's too far away. Well, let's go have a look what Commander Bond's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little later.
Hello everyone, I am just sitting here in this Combretum apicuratum bushel because it's cold and windy, and this is what the animals are doing. They are hiding away from the wind in the shelter provided by the verdant new green leaves of the spring. I have to tell you, it's really very pleasant in here indeed. Well, but for the spike in my bottom, but other than that, it's really quite nice. Now, we eventually left the area where we thought the leopards were because they didn't seem to be there at all. We stopped and we listened, we drove around, we peered at the road hoping to see some kind of a pug mark or footprint, but alas, nothing came along at all. So now we've come to the far east of the reserve. I think that Brent is around here somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where. And I believe that with him you have been looking at a branch cunningly disguised as an old impala kit. Well, that must have been fascinating. And also, you've been discussing one of Brent's favourite subjects, that of man-eating animals. I'm sure that was fascinating. So we've come to the Far East here. Hopefully, perhaps, we might be able to pick up on tracks of that male leopard that Brent was following earlier today. I'm sure he's around here as well. And we'll drive around and we'll see what we can find, well, on the clearings up here. I'm hoping there might be one or two things. Like I say, very comfortable in thick bush. Very warm, away from the wind. We did come across some impala and zebra and wildebeest, and they were very skittish, very kind of afraid, and that's because of this wind. They're just a lot more skittish. As they saw us, they all scattered in different directions and then ran up and down in a kind of panicked frenzy. And that's just because it's really difficult to hear what's coming to get you in this kind of wind. Quite a pretty sky developing in the west, which we'll show you just now. Now, this is a very interesting subject that's going to be brought up. A lot of people ask us, ooh, look at that beautiful sky, Brian. Let's just have a quick look at it there. Stunning. Crepuscular rays. That's what those are. Those lovely rays of golden sunshine. Beautiful, look at that. As we look at possibly one of those peaceful scenes that you can find out here, the glorious sun shining through the clouds. Sean Holder, you have brought up the subject of safety in these areas, and Sean, I'm not sure that we've heard from you before, and if not, please welcome and thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Sean, you want to know if we're armed when we change a tyre, and do we get punctured tyres, and are we armed anyway? Sean, we are not armed. We do get punctured tyres sometimes. The tyres that are currently on Rusty are, well, I think we've got more chance of puncturing a tank track than you do some of the tyres that we have here. That is a little bit like famous last words, so we may well lose them at some stage, but at the moment they're very new and very hard, and it'll be one mighty thorn that gets between the treads and punctures these tyres. Sean, we are not armed. We are not armed for a very good reason. The reason is that we don't have to be, and certainly from my perspective, the less I have to do with firearms, the better. But we don't need to be armed out here. We evolved in Africa as human beings, and because of that, the animals out here see us as a predator. They are not inherently dangerous towards us, and many of you would have heard me say this before. I don't believe, I never use the term dangerous animal. We use the term potentially dangerous animal. Yes, there are animals out here that can become threatened by our presence, and certainly then they may become dangerous or threatened, but we certainly have no need, especially while out in the vehicles, to be armed to the teeth for protection. That's just not necessary out here. The animals don't see us in the same way as, say, a polar bear does. They didn't evolve with people, and they seem to see people as fair game. Likewise a crocodile, but it's unlikely that a crocodile is going to leap out of the water into the vehicle. So Sean, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, if you would like to ask a little bit more about it, because it's a very important subject, and people who are potentially going to come out to on safari are often very nervous. They feel like it might be a dangerous thing, like we're doing some kind of extreme sport. We aren't. We're enjoying the wilderness, we're absorbing the atmosphere of it. There is always the possibility that something can go wrong, and there is an edge, of course, around the place here. It's not like walking through a country park, or at least a city park. It's definitely, it's wild. The feeling is one of wild, but it's not one of threat. So there's a big distinction to be made there. Keep it up, keep the questions coming, and if you want to ask more about that kind of subject, I really quite enjoy it, so I'm more than happy to chat to you about it. Thank you, Sean. We were looking for Tingana earlier, an average sized male leopard, and he probably weighs in the region of 70 kilograms. And Country Chick, you want to know that that's about the same size as a St. Bernard dog. No, I'd say it's smaller than a St. Bernard. I mean, he's probably a little bit taller maybe than a St. No, he's about the same height as a St. Bernard, but possibly not as stocky. So I weigh about 70 kilograms, so he weighs about the same as me. I'm 5'8". He's probably actually very similarly proportioned to someone of my size. About a 70 kilogram up to 75 kilogram animal. I'm trying to think in terms of a dog what size he would be. The aerial, which we fixed today. I will cast at nervous glances as we go. Dog-wise, yeah, probably about the height or size of a St. Bernard, but not quite as heavy. Much more slightly built, and obviously not as shaggy. Probably quite similarly sized actually to an American cougar. Mountain lion. Maybe a little bit bigger. There are some zebra up ahead. We did see Tingana while we were chatting about him limping yesterday evening. His left forepaw, i.e. his left front foot, seemed to be bothering him quite badly. And Mercedes, you want to know, is he injured? What's the update on it? Well, we don't know because we haven't seen him today. He's very clearly been moving around, so it's obviously not inflicting too much pain on him. We don't know what happened. There was some thoughts that it might be a territorial battle. I don't believe it was that. And a leopard, when it fights territorially, first of all, it has to be seriously desperate before it will actually have a fight. And secondly, I haven't heard or seen any tracks of any other male leopards in the area. We'll just stop here. We're surrounded by zebra. So I don't believe that it was any kind of injury inflicted by another leopard, except maybe the female he was mating with. Remember, their mating is very violent. It can be. When he withdraws, she turns around and she always takes a swat at him, and maybe her claw caught him on the foot, maybe something like that. He was also hunting buffalo with Karula 4 days ago. He perhaps got injured while he was hunting that buffalo. It is a worry. I shall not put too fine a point on it. It's a worry, because if a leopard gets injured to the point that he can't hunt, he'll starve to death very quickly. He may be able to scavenge a little bit depending on what's around. So if, say, Shadow or Karula make a kill, he might be able to scavenge that from them, but he won't be able to scavenge from lions or hyenas or wild dogs, certainly not with an injury. And if he can't hunt, if he can't eat, no one's going to help him out. So it is a little bit of a worry. It didn't look too bad to me. It looked like it was probably a bit stiff when he got up. Maybe something like a pulled muscle or an inflamed joint from a bash he took while he was hunting that buffalo. I don't know. It is a risky business being a leopard, though. But because of that, the function of the fact that they are alone, they will avoid conflict at all costs. So if you've ever seen male leopards having a territorial dispute, it's normally them lying next to each other growling. It's a totally unimpressive thing to see. Only in extreme cases will they actually have a go at each other. Totally unlike a male lion, whereas if one male lion stands its ground, the other will normally get in and they'll probably have a fight. Because they, of course, live in a pride, so the chances of them eating are that much higher. They can afford to take more risks. Let's have a look at the zebra here. Nice little kinship group, and you'll see lots of fat bellies, not only brought about by the fact that they are hind gut fermenters, i.e. not ruminants like the antelope and certainly the deer that you get in North America. They are definitely, some of them, pregnant. That one closest to us now, I would say, is about to pop. And most of these animals will try and time the birth for the coming rain season, and that will be probably commence fairly soon, I would say, in about 3 weeks or so. But there are lots of fat bellies there. I think there are going to be lots of little foals around. And there's the stallion looking at us. The stallion will always walk behind or in front, protecting. We're looking at some interesting zebra, and while we're doing that, Blair in Canada, you made the comment that Brian should get a cricket helmet, which would help him if the aerial should loose itself again and try and attack him. Blair, I then said I was happy that you knew about cricket, and you say you don't know about cricket. You only know a few rules. I'm not even going to go into the list of the rules that you do know. It is an extremely complicated game to understand if you haven't grown up with it. But the one thing I will say about cricket, which will be astonishing to most of you who are not familiar with the game, and as Blair pointed out, the game can go on for 5 days. We have a special kind of multi-day game called a 5-day test match. It's the ultimate form of the game. If you have not grown up with cricket, or you aren't a real fan, you will unquestionably fall asleep during the 5-day game. If you are a fan, though, there's nothing better than a good 5-day test match between, say, India and South Africa, or Australia and South Africa. Those are the best ones. Helped immeasurably if you happen to be at a stadium drinking draft beer in the sunshine. That's good fun once in a while. This is a very big herd of zebra. So you've got the stallion up front there. That'll be his harem, and I suspect there might be a little bachelor group walking behind. This won't be all his group. That'll be his little harem in front there. There we go. So probably 3 mares, 2 young foals that are his, and that will be his little family. 4 mares actually. He's got 4 ladies and their babies, and then the others, just looking with my powerful binoculars, will either be a little bachelor group or a second kinship group. And those enormous herds of zebra that you see migrating with the wildebeest in the Serengeti are an agglomeration of lots and lots of these different kinship groups, as we call them, led by a stallion with his harem. Yeah, no, I think that is actually another little harem. And then one of the questions that we get asked an enormous amount, or not one of the questions, or one of the sentiments that is expressed through some of the questions that we get, is will animals look after each other when they're sick? Will they look after orphaned ones, or will they just leave them to die? And people who have been watching for a while and who've studied African mammals and animals always use the elephant as an example. Elephants will always adopt an orphaned animal and try and help it to survive. It will be suckled by another female if there's a lactating female in the herd, and then he'll be looked after. And people often ask, like Happy Cub just has, will something like a herd of zebras do the same thing? If a cub is orphaned, will it be looked after by another mare in the kinship group? Happy Cub, almost universally not, I'm afraid. And it's such a funny thing, It's a question we ask a lot because of our human psychology, and it's one of the things that helps us to attach and identify with animals when they do human things, egalitarian things, kind of perform selfless acts for other animals. But there are very few mammals in which you see that kind of behavior, and zebras certainly aren't one of them. What would more likely happen, unfortunately, Happy Cub, is that if a zebra mother was killed and there was a foal, that foal would probably start alarm calling and may even be killed by another adult zebra to prevent it attracting predators to the area. So we certainly saw that at one stage. We saw a zebra horrible incident where horrible's putting a judgment on it. Disturbing, difficult to watch incident where we had a zebra stallion killing a young foal. He broke its leg and then killed it, and it was very, very distressing to see. Just get an update on the radio quickly. Sorry, go again with that.
Yeah, my dog's local beverage dam. They come out of beverage area. Now they're running back again, chasing up the mangrove water buffalo.
Copy, confirm they're running north back into Buffelshoek.
Yeah, they're running east right now.
Okay, copy. Do you think I'll get visual if I come along the cut line, the Buffelshoek cut line?
I'm going to kick off with them, Jim. Try your luck.
Okay, copy that. Thanks very much. Brent, if you copy that and you close up, please go for it. There's reports of wild dog just up ahead on the Buffelshoek cut line. We're going to drive at a great speed, see if we can get there. Fascinating stuff. Stand by one. We'll see how fast this rusty thing can go. Now they are right on the northern boundary, everybody, so if they do go north we won't see them, but it's well worth having a go to see if we can get there. Go ahead.
What was the position of those animals?
Going north from the Buffelshoek now, but then turning south again. They're running around that area on the Buffelshoek cut line now, probably 2 minutes from there.
Copy. I'm at Buffelshoek Dam. What's your position?
See the cut line, you go for it, Brent, see if you can get a view.
Copy.
So Brent is at Buffelshoek Dam. He's going to get up, that's a little north of us now, closer to where the dogs might be.
Yeah,
we'll carry on going this way.
The fire break, my way around here. I think I got north and south, so we towards the dam area.
Coming south. Okay, copy that, thanks. Brent, you have copied that?
open. Just going to the bit behind the dam. I'm going to be up on the cut line in 2 seconds.
Copy that. Okay, Brent's right there. There's only one other station there. Oh, station, I mean other vehicle. So we can probably both get in there if they're on the hunt. Now those of you who haven't seen wild dogs before, wild dogs are the wolves of Africa. Right, let's pop across to Brent quickly. He'll keep you posted, and I will see you hopefully there right now.
Hi everyone, and obviously you've heard. What's up? The art should be around here now. How did they get behind us? Andrew. Andrew, I'm on Bubbles of Flatline. I've just come from Bubbles of Dam. Where are they, sorry?
Trying to get out of here.
Hi everybody, Brent is over there. The dogs are heading towards the dam. The dam is over there. We're all going in the same place.
Okay,
and whoever gets to see them first, well, good luck to him. Very much a team effort, this of course. I can smell a water buck. Not that that's very helpful when you're looking for wild dogs. Right, we're going to turn down the fire brake here. Not a particularly good piece of road. Hold on, Brian. Watch the aerial doesn't drown you.
Okay.
So they're just in there, in theory. But they do move at an incredible speed. Okay, let's go across to Brent. I think he's got them.
We've got the dogs. They're at the Buffelshoek waterhole. They just managed to sneak behind us. I'm just going to tell Andrew where they are quickly. Andrew, they're at the Marti now. They just chased some piva, or the puppies chased the piva. But no success. Oh, there's another one coming in. All the pups in front of us. This is the first time I've seen these pups. They're all very unsure about that hippopotamus. And this is definitely a fantastic way to find the first predator of the evening. And of course, it happens to be my favorite, the African wild dog. And we're just going to try get opposite the puppies while they drink. You can see wild dogs are always very, very nervous around water. They're very scared of crocodiles. And so you can see the little guys drinking out of a little puddle a little bit further back from the water. You can see that very nervous watching the water, and also the hippos, they need a little bit of movement. Sometimes cause them to get a bit of a fright. I hope you guys are getting some good screenshots of this. Oh, here we go. Hello, little guys. So I'm ecstatic. This is the first time I've seen these guys with the little ones. And it's amazing that they are completely free of a den already at this young age, and they travel with the pack. Hello, little guys. So there's one run, they're going to run on top of the wall. There was some water bugs just on the other side. Okay. Oh, hello. So we can't move. We've got wild dogs all around behind us, coming to have a closer look at us. They're very curious, the little guys. And I love it when they're this age. Their feet almost look too big for the rest of them. They've got a bit of growing to do. So it is a big pack. There are 3 adults in this pack and 11 pups from what I last heard, but very sad. Wild dogs have about a 70% mortality rate with the youngsters. So I think there were 12 or 13 when they started. I'm not 100% sure. Those hearing the click, it's just me taking a few photographs. I'm trying to get left side, was it right, or left side photographs for the Endangered Wildlife Trust to monitor all the wild dogs in this area. So if any of these do make it to adulthood, they'll have an ID kit for them.
I got Frank here. I'm not sure if speak to Jen.
Okay, before they disappear, I've followed wild dogs a lot in my years, and I know how quickly they can move. So I'm going to try and get up ahead so we don't lose them. Hold on. Very, very happy person right now. And hopefully we get to see the hunter shortly. Okay, we're going to lose signal possibly through this dip, but we'll be up through. So we just want to keep an eye on where the adults are going. So we've got all the youngsters here. Oh, they're so wonderful. I'm hoping that we're going to actually turn off onto this road, but it looks like they're going to go straight into the block. Okay, we've got an adult here. There are 2 adults.
Andrew, I'm just going to corner. Any updates? Oh my God.
So guys, it's going to be on the radio just to let them know, everyone else know where they're going. Andrew, can you still see them? There we go. Oh. Okay. They're turning further east. It looks like that. Okay. So guys, I'm just going to concentrate quite heavily while I try to follow them through this area. It's not the most ideal. It is quite a thick block, and we don't want to lose them. serious workout on the arms following wild dogs.
These dogs ran to the south, into the block.
Here we go. And just quickly, I didn't quite catch the name because I was concentrating on not breaking the car. But the question was, are they considered the most successful of the hunters? Yes, Sean. They have about an 80% success rate in areas. So 8 out of 10 times that they chase something, they catch it. As opposed to lion and cheetah and leopard, stuff are all well below 20%. Andrew, they're still moving sort of south in the block, parallel to Quarry Pan Road. So a good place would be Quarry Pan Junction with Inyala Road North. Oh boy. Andrew, you got your hard hat on? So we've got one adult leading in the front there. And we've got all the youngsters opposite us. Sorry guys, I'm just going to try and have to coordinate. The other guys with the longer vehicles, sometimes I've got a lot of trouble following the dogs through these thick blocks. Hold on. Where'd you go? So we've still got one adult here. I think the youngsters are behind us. It's hard to believe that we can lose a huge pack of dogs like that. But we've got the one adult still on the move. And fortunately for us, we found a big elephant path, which makes our life moving through here a little bit easier. Trying to stick with this guy as runs through the bush here. I can't see the rest of the pack now, but as long as we can see one. Going down to the road. Andrew, keep an eye on it for me while I try and get us through. James. Oh dear me. We can't go that way. So guys, unfortunately, they are going down into an area where we have some bad signal, but I'll try to get there as soon as possible. And I can't actually go, it's a really steep drop off the drainage line. So unfortunately it's bad signal.
Hello everybody, as you can see, We're having a little spot of bother. Brent has lost signal. That's not unusual. He will follow the dogs. We'll try and start the car, being poisoned as we speak by various gases coming out of this foul and useless vehicle that was called Rusty. Right, we'll go back to Brent. We'll keep you posted.
Craig, say again, I was busy. What's the update on the Doji?
Oh, yes.
And now we're on a yellow board. So we're running up to the Kudu, but the mid over here now. Yeah, I got a young Kudu here standing stand by and someone. Yes, up here. You told them about Doji already.
This car is
Yeah, same. I have to fresh come out of the
the puppies. I can't follow them, unfortunately. The car is broken. Look at that, isn't that wonderful? FM Yellow Road North Junction Quarry Pan. Oh, look at that, isn't that just wonderful?
Okay. So they crossing which way, Jim?
Sorry. They're now crossing the road west.
Alright, good thing. Let's start from there, so see if I can turn around. But if they cross west into the horrible stuff, or maybe try Haina Road.
They've crossed now. I can't move, I'm afraid. The car is broken. He's got something to do with the gallon of oil I poured into it. Louise, can you confirm whether the audio is live?
Hold on, they're crossing back to the east. That's west.
All right, everybody. If you did, I did say a very bad word about the car just now. Sorry about that. If you did hear it, I apologise, especially if there are kids watching. The dogs have gone off in there. Yeah. Yeah. So, if you didn't hear it, ignore everything I said. The dogs have gone off through there towards Hyena Road. The car is totally stationary, I'm afraid. I can't start the engine. So Brent is here now. He will try and cut through there. Tax will go around the other side to try and pick them up on Hyena Road. And well, that's the state of play at the moment. Brent's signal is not very good where he is at the moment, so I'm afraid you're going to have to stay with me for now. And I will, well, we will narrate as we can. I'm going to try and start the car again. Dearly, sorry, my car is no longer functioning.
Oh shit.
Yes, as you would, okay. Will you bring me some supper? It would be wonderful, thank you.
You might be supper.
I might be. Yes, good point. It could be anything. It's supposed to be a new car. Yeah. It's a lemon. Yeah. This is a paint job, cosmetic. Don't. I'll be okay. I live here. Yes, yes, exactly. Could be all sorts of things. Right. So, well, at least we've seen some kind of mammals coming past us at this stage. Right, let's go straight across to Brent. I think he's got a picture again. Good luck with him. I will try and get going as soon as I can.
Go back.
Guys, the dogs ran past James into this area, so we're trying to see where they went now. And we've managed to get through the whole to Hayi Road. Up the side so I can get a little bit more height.
Dogs are going! It's all happening. There they go, through there. Or more of them there. All chasing. They're on the chase. Tail came tearing past us. We got the car going. And there they are, flanking next to the vehicle. Stations, they are approaching WildEarth Dam along Nyala Road. They're running parallel with the drainage line. They've gone back down into the drainage line. Let's just stop here. We'll just have a listen.
I'm coming also on Chinook line.
So the drainage line that they're in is just over here. Stations, they have not popped out here at WildEarth Dam yet. They went into the drainage line to the west. And okay, they're now back at the dam. Well done, Brian. This is such fun. Hello, little pups. These are just the pups. And there's an adult. Oh, look, they've chased an impala into the dam. Or Nyala. That's amazing. This is unbelievable. I'm going to stop up here. Stations, they've chased what looks like a Nyala into the dam. All the animals are not here.
How many vehicles are there? On the fly bridge, about
One station here so far. I think there are 3 moving in there. Isn't this incredible, everybody?
So what was okay?
You may have heard it beeping. It's going at the moment.
Alright, can I join it?
Yeah, affirmative. Look at this, everybody. You've got a great view of exactly what's going on. So the 3 adults, or 2 adults, are now streaming around. Now, what I predict is going to happen is that eventually that, what is it? Is it a Nyala?
Yeah.
Eventually that Nyala is going to become tired and will either drown. The hippo could attack it. I've seen that happen before. But I suspect, I'm afraid,
I'll let you know when I'm
the days of that Nyala are probably over.
Alright, please. Right at the dam wall now. But yeah, I can't come in. I've got to wait for you to be locked, so I'll just take a standby. No problem at all.
This is absolutely amazing. Oh, what an afternoon. Thankfully, we got this car going again. Don't know where the other adult is. They're the 10 pups, or 11 pups, and how many are there? 1, 2, 3. Please, can you try and count them, everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. That's still 11. 2 adults. Don't know where the other one is. Oh, look at this. So they won't go in there after him, I don't think. It's highly unlikely that they'll go in there.
Take 6. Andrew. Sorry. Craig. Standing by. Yellow channel.
Oh, look at this. This is just unbelievable. Now everybody, we might have to make way, I'm afraid, for another game drive. That is how it works out here. We have to be very cognizant of the other game drives and certainly the efforts that they put in to find animals. And so we may well have to move out just now. Itata Aubrey. Okay. Look what I figured in that room. Huh? Sure. All right. In home. Yeah. Right, so Taxon very kindly said there that when Aubrey comes, he's his colleague, he'll move out and let us keep filming, which is wonderful and very kind of him indeed.
Okay. Same by 6. But there's 3 mothers in the line. Okay, I'm making my way from Chile Tech Line, Buckles up. I'll come south. Thanks, 6.
Yeah, this is actually we probably will make this what we call a 4-vehicle sighting. So we will allow 4 people into it because it's not moving, and you know it's unlikely to kind of become crowded around here. This is just unbelievable. Now these dogs are very good swimmers, everybody. They are very good swimmers, and Ginny and Country Girl Ash, you want to know why won't the dogs go in there after the Nyala? The answer is because in order to get in there and pull that Nyala out, they run the risk of drowning. They can swim very well, but remember, they're not water predators, so they could grab it, but they couldn't then swim and try and pull it out. It's heavier than them, and so these dogs are so close. Now look at them just right here with us. So they could definitely swim to it. Whether they could kill it and then pull it out without attracting the attention of the hippo, really unlikely. The little ones have got bored now. Now the adults will wait for the Nyala. I'm afraid the patience of the dogs, I think, is going to win the day here.
Open.
Oh, this is just astonishing. People, you don't see this every day.
Marriage to Comcast.
So, yesterday when we were looking at the hippo, we definitely came to the conclusion that the hippo was standing there, and Paul Rizzo, you said it looks like the Nyala is actually standing rather than swimming. It is definitely standing, unless it has an exceptional ability to tread water. It's most certainly standing, Paul, and I think that dog is trying to get hold of a terrapin. There's a dog there trying to get hold of something in the water. Paul, I don't think it will outweigh them, you know. often, normally they don't outweight them. Normally, eventually, what happens is that it gets tired. It might outweight them. Eventually, however, if it's very deep, it'll get tired and have to come out, or it'll get so cold that it has to come out, or it might die there and eventually be kind of either sink to the ground or be eaten by the terrapins. But things don't look good. The only thing in the favour of that Nyala is that it's getting dark now. Now what that means is we definitely will not put a light on these dogs. They are diurnal animals and they are hunting with their pups, so we need to be very sensitive to how they move. We don't want to put any kind of pressure on them at all, and so we will not be putting a light on the dogs at all. But so the advantage, of course, for the Nyala is that if the dogs move off as it gets dark, it may be able to sneak off under cover of darkness. Oh, this is just astonishing.
You're coming down. No, try. Yeah,
Copy that. Just to keep you posted. Oh, sorry. I just need to talk on the radio, everyone. Copy that. We don't have light for my face, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. Everybody, the great news, or the sad news for Brent, is that he has snapped the aerial on Wendy, unfortunately, through the chasing of the dogs. This is a common occurrence for Brent Smith. It's a common occurrence if you're ever going to stay with dogs on the hunt, and there is no better in the business than Brent Smith at staying with dogs on the hunt. So unfortunately for him, his day is over, as it were, but we're going to stay with these dogs for as long as we possibly can. Look at the little puppies there. This little pack of 3 adults has done an astonishingly good job of looking after all 11 of these babies. I think they only had 12 to start with, and the fact that they've only lost 1 is really astonishing. I don't know where the other adult is, though. I'm sure it's all right. So we were just chatting about what are the chances of that Nyala surviving this. Marlene, you have correctly stated that perhaps darkness is going to be its friend. I think darkness will be that Nyala's friend. I think that the dogs don't have great night eyesight. It's better than ours, but it's not like a cat's. They only hunt on moonlit nights. There's not going to be a moon tonight. There's a big bank of cloud coming over. So the Nyala, which sees probably about the same standard as the dogs do at night, might be able to slip off. If they are around here, though, and they get wind of that Nyala coming out of the water, they'll smash it. But darkness is what that Nyala is going to have to wait for. I think the water is probably pretty warm. It's very shallow, so I don't really think that hypothermia is going to be too much of a problem. These little dogs. The little ones are just over here by. Hi guys. Where the adult is. So they're just going to play around here. Here's one of the adults. And the little ones will now be really frantically hungry. So like I say, just to warn you everybody, I don't think we're going to see the end of this because we won't put a light on them. So So we won't be putting a light on them because they are diurnal. We don't want to threaten them. They've done so well to raise these 11 pups to the age that they have, just the 3 of them. This is just spectacular. And I'm sure you can hear and see in the astonishing excitement that Brent and I feel that for both of us, wild dogs on the hunt are the most exciting thing that we can possibly see out here. Brent goes almost catatonic with excitement. Now, once when I was a young guide many years ago, we had a pack at a place called Ngala, not far from here. It's starting to rain, everyone. This is really not great news for us. Yeah. And that pack was led by an alpha dog that had a black tail. It's the only dog that I've ever seen that's had a black tail, and as Velma has correctly pointed out, they are mostly white-tailed at the back, almost universally so, and I think that's a good, it could well be, because that's a good way for them to follow each other. Let's see what happens now. If you hear some rustling and stuff and the camera isn't moving, it's because we do have to put a rain cover on it, otherwise it will explode in Brian's hand, and that won't be very good at all. So if you have just joined us, we've just had the astonishing privilege of watching these wild dogs hunting. There are 11 puppies behind us, 2 adults in front. There is an adult missing, but I think that's just that he or she has got lost on the hunt. As far as I understand it, this is known as the Investec pack. It's certainly the pack that we see here most often. There we've got one of the adults, and all of the puppies are behind us now. We'll get you a picture of them as soon as we've managed to get the rain cover on to the camera. Really very important. Andrew, I could try and maneuver this car. I'm just wondering if it's going to start. And I don't want the hooter to go off again. There we go, we're okay. Behind this tree here. There they come. I think we'll just go straight back to where we were, to be honest. There we go. Get a better view there. How are you doing there, Brian? Great. Go along here. We will turn the camera, feel not everyone? Is that hopeless for you? It's pretty hopeless. Okay. I just don't want to go down there if they're going to move around too much. Because like I say, we've made this what we call a 4-vehicle sighting, which is absolutely fine. It's perfectly sensitive to the animals as long as they're not on the move. And there are all the puppies. Really nice bird's eye view. Well done, Brian. So there is a certain amount of danger that these dogs face at the moment. They're out in the open, and there's certainly a kill on the way. Now, there's a very distinct predator hierarchy out here amongst the major predators, and it is obviously fronted here. They're moving away. They're moving off. It's fronted by the lions, then the hyenas, then the wild dogs, then the leopard, then the cheetah. And Monique, you want to know, first of all, Are they at risk from other predators? All the time. They are definitely at risk from other predators, hyenas and lions specifically. Then you want to know how big is that nyala in relation to a wild dog. That nyala is bigger than one adult, about 1.5 times the size, I would say. And 2 of them would certainly be able to kill it. I suspect 1 of them could if they got hold of it. But 2 of them, along with the help of these pups, will help a little bit now when the killing begins. They're all just behind us there. The pups will certainly help if the killing begins, and yeah, then I mean the nyala will have absolutely no chance whatsoever. Wow, what a day. Started out very quietly indeed. I had a brief feeling of wild dogs, I must say. Very patient now. One thing with a lot of these mammals, you can get emotion from a dog's face, you can get emotion from a cat's face. You don't get any emotion from an antelope's face. Their faces look the same, whether they're terrified, ecstatic, about to give birth, not about to give birth, starving to death, it doesn't matter. The facial expression is the same. And what I wonder is what's going through that hapless antelope's mind right now. It must be almost terrified out of its wits. Will make the comparison between these dogs and hyenas, and the big thing to remember, of course, is that hyenas are more closely related to cats. They're a lot bigger than these dogs, but they do live in a similar kind of society, well, sort of. And many of you would also have seen, like Bree has mentioned, that when you go to a hyena den, the little pups or the cubs come up and they start to bite on the wheels. And you want to know if the dogs will do the same. They don't. The dogs don't tend to come that close. They certainly will come pretty close. They don't tend to investigate as much, and I think it's because they're not scavengers. They're one of the few predators that won't kill and scavenge. They will only eat fresh meat. They're all going round the side now. There you go, some nice movement now. Here they all come. Pups are just coming up the side of the dam wall there. So, many of you who are regular watchers will have seen this before. Apparently, Marga and Larry have just told us that this happened last year in this very dam. A pregnant impala was chased in. Didn't end well for the impala. We've certainly heard many times, and Christine, thank you. We've also heard of this happening twice in the Arathusa Dam in the last probably month. These 3 adults have chased a youngster, or not a youngster, they've chased nyala, bushbuck I think, into the dam, and twice the hippo actually killed the prey, and the dogs didn't get to eat it after all. And so that's why I said that nyala is not necessarily safe from the hippo. Now, Jackie's class. You've got 5 minutes left of your class. Well, I'm so glad that you're spending some time here, and apparently you can hear some yipping or some calling of birds, and you want to know if it's alarm calling or birds calling. It is almost certainly birds calling. The dogs are not calling to each other. They did do some little bit of whining at each other briefly just now, but at the moment they're totally silent. And if we look at the ones on the wall here, on the dam wall in front of us, they are listening carefully, especially the other adult. It's listening carefully to see if it can hear, I suspect, to see if it can hear the other adult. I wonder if that's what they haven't heard. I'll tell you what, Brian, I can do that.
You can't focus there.
Anna Marie, how long they'll stay for, they will... Oh dear, I've made a mess of the light. Sorry, we just have to figure out the light here. Anna Marie, they will stay here for as long as it's safe. Now, at night, dogs are not safe. Well, I mean, no animals particularly safe out here, but the dogs are not very safe, and so they will probably hang around the place, but they won't be running around like this during the night, especially as there's no moon at all. Let's find some kind of elephant dung to chew on while they wait for the nyala. And this is a common thing, people. It's not unusual for this to happen, for an animal to go herring into the water to get away from certainly wild dogs and leopard and lion. Leopard and lion, of course, if there's going to be a kill and they do make a chase, the chances of it going, unless it's right next to the water, it wouldn't happen like this, because it's either over, they either miss and then give up, or the little ones are coming right towards us. They either miss and give up, or they kill quickly, and then that's the end of that. But the dogs, of course, will chase from a long way off. Two very valid and interesting comments. Thank you, from Penny Pine and Bear Ronka. Penny, you think that nyala is being very smart by standing still. It is certainly being smart. But Bear Ronka, you think maybe it's in shock. I think it's probably a bit of both. I think it knows that if it comes anywhere from where it is, I think it is being smart. It's right in the middle of the water there. It's not closer to either side. It's right in the middle of the water, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere from there. I think it might spend the night in the water. Luckily for it, it is sort of summertime. I say sort of because there's a chilly wind blowing. So, Ravi in New York, I'm just turning the light on. Along with one or two hassles that, oh dear, along with one or two I've got
You've
a strobe light going.
Put it on strobe function. I'll hold it, it's fine.
Along with one or two problems that Rusty's having, we don't have a light yet for the face. So we've got a portable light. Ravi, you say that hippo are herbivores. Absolutely they are. Why would they pose a threat? I don't know the answer to this, because I've seen footage of hippos saving animals from predators, certainly from crocodiles. We've seen at Arathusa them killing animals that are in mortal danger. They don't eat the animals at all, they kill them. I think it's because they don't want to attract predators to their area. I think they're they feel highly threatened. They're certainly the animals that feel the most threatened, because they have to have the water. So they need to be in the water all the time. So they have to be very careful about allowing predators around the place, and I think that's probably why they do it. The aspect ratio, or the sort of two-dimensional picture that you're getting, is not an accurate reflection of how far away the impala is from the hippo. It's probably at least sort of 30 or 40 meters. It's quite a long way away from the hippo. So it looks closer than it is on the picture that you're looking at. The dogs are right next to me now, but we can't put a light on them, so it's almost pointless shining on them or looking at them. Oh, look at that. So the camera, you may notice that it's starting to look a little what we call pixelated, and that's just, or grainy. That's because it's much darker than it looks on your screen, and so the camera is really trying to suck out as much light as it can from what are incredibly dim conditions. As we were chatting about things with Ravi and the fact that these hippo are herbivores, so why on earth would they be killing something like that? Nyala and Lindsay, you have just pointed out, of course, that they do regularly save prey species from predators. I don't know how regular it is, but Lindsay, I've certainly seen footage of it, but I've equally heard many stories of hippo killing prey species that were being chased by predators. So, you know, it's very difficult one to understand from the point of view of the hippo. Ooh, it's getting dark. I mean, it's almost pitch black. And Marianne, I think you just made the comment that you hope that the hippo does chase the dogs off. I sort of share that sentiment. I don't like seeing a terrified, hapless animal there. The dogs have to eat, though, of course. But I don't think that's going to happen. You know, I don't think that these dogs will be vaguely afraid of the hippo. They're so much faster than the hippo would be. The hippo will not be long before they actually come out of the water now. And then Monique in London, sorry, I'm just having a quick look at what's going on. You want to know basically what do the dogs eat most of the time? Well, they eat animals exactly that size, about the size of an adult male impala, but they'll take steenbok, they'll take kudu if they can, they'll take much bigger prey if they can with a big pack. But remember, there are only 3 adults in this little pack. So Nyala is about the right size for them. You can feel that breeze, or you can't feel it, but I can feel a breeze starting to come. It's touched with a little bit of moisture from the clouds, and it is now. And the smell of them, Brian's just actually pointing out to me, of course, this incredible wet dog smell that is assailing our nostrils. And I mean, at home, when you smell this, it's not a very pleasant smell, but out here, it's the most exciting smell in the world. Thank you for that, Brian. It does. It really does smell like a kind of dirty, wet dog. So these puppies will normally stay with the pack for about a year. Oh, there's the adult, just giving some discipline. Oof, and that smell is really strong, especially after Brian's just mentioned it. I'm now looking for it with my nose, of course. And
It's got a
powerful, huh?
tang to it.
It is a real tang. So they will normally leave the pack after about a year, and Ravi, what happens then is that they go off, and the males will go one way and the females the other, and they will form a new pack with males and females from other packs, and so that stops inbreeding, and that's generally what happens. So these guys will probably hang around until the breeding season next year, and then they'll probably move off. You'll probably find in a small pack like this that a few of them might remain behind and sort of augment the size of the pack. That's quite possible. Now, you think it's dark on your screens, everyone. I can barely see those dogs in front of us. So just to reiterate to all of you, and I know you're all enjoying it, but we are not going to turn any lights on for these dogs. They are diurnal animals. If it was just the adult pack, I would even a big elephant. Ooh. This is going to be interesting. This elephant has taken great exception to the dogs. I'm also not going to put a light on the elephant. So just to say, what I would do, in the absence of the pups, I put on a very sort of dim LED light, but because that may well threaten the pups, it might attract other predators. We don't know if it does. There is some evidence to suggest that lights and spotlights will get out. I can't be stuck here on this wall. This elephant decides to come down here. Sorry everybody, I just don't want to be on the wall if this elephant gets particularly irritated with predators and decides to take his frustrations out on us. Elephants do not like predators, as you just noticed. So, just back to the lighting thing, there is some evidence to suggest that spotlights might attract something like a hyena. We definitely don't want to attract a hyena to this area, and so we're going to leave the lights off. If it was just the adults, I'd put on a dim light, but it isn't, so I'm not going to, I'm afraid. Valid question from Leslie. Will they give up in the darkness? They might give up, Leslie. I don't know, to be honest, what they're going to do. It is quite interesting to see. I'm not really sure.
I shall see you in the morning.
Yes, marvellous sighting.
Not get trampled by an elephant.
That's why I've moved off the wall. So we'll come down to the water side here. Alright, so everybody, we're going to just sort of plant ourselves over here, get a different view. At least you can get the light of the dimming sky. What I will do is put a light onto the hyena, not to the hyena, what's that thing called? It's a nyala. We'll put a light onto the nyala, and that'll give a bit of a view as to what's going on. Brian, we wanted to see if the elephant comes down, of course. So what I'm going to do is just reverse into this little nook over here. There, we'll give you a little picture of the nyala maybe. Just reverse up here, see what happens. So the dogs on the other side of the wall there, there's no point in us following them because, of course, we can't put the light on.
I'm just taking off this rain cover.
I'm just going to take the rain cover off. You can see there the beautiful horizon. And that light of the eye there you can see is the nyala. So, we were chatting briefly earlier about the predator hierarchy and lions at the top, then hyenas, and Sarah in Ohio, aged just 18. Will the dogs go away if the hyenas come through? Definitely. They will definitely go away. They won't stop to fight hyenas in the darkness. That is a highly unlikely thing for them to do. If it was one or two hyena, then they might. But with these, even with these little pups, I just don't think that's going to happen. So It's probably about 20 degrees Celsius here now, with the wind chill probably down to maybe 16. And there's one dog on the wall there. I can just make it out. There, you can see it in the top of your corner there. And Christine, you were talking about hypothermia and the possibility of that Nyala getting hypothermia. Christine, I'd say the water is probably sitting at about 21 or 22 degrees Celsius, maybe even more. In fact, probably around 24. That's pretty warm. And so I don't really think that hypothermia is going to be too much of an issue for a few hours. You said you think probably about an hour. I think it's got a lot longer than an hour in water of this temperature. The difficulty is when the wind starts to blow, because then its back is going to get cold, and obviously it's not designed to be in water, and so eventually, well, a bit like us in water, it will start to get a little bit wrinkly and eventually probably struggle. Now, it's still sitting there. There is still a dog watching it from the top of the wall. The hippo have also turned. And it is always nice when our viewers show deep concern for us. Certainly there was outpourings of sympathy for Brian and the injury he sustained. Oh dear, here we go. The hippo is moving towards the Nyala now. Sharon, and you worry that whether we're safe or not. Sharon, the nighttime doesn't really affect us in the vehicle. We're okay. We do need to be careful, of course, always. Like that elephant was coming, and it's just, we couldn't escape from the elephant on the top of the wall, so we came off the wall just in case he got so irritated by the dogs that he took it out on us. The Nyala is now moving, but we're pretty safe here. We're certainly not going to take any chances, though. That Nyala knew immediately that the hippo were moving towards it, and it's now heading towards the shore. So Beronka, you want to know why we've put the light on the Nyala? It's just simply so that you can see it. Basically, it's not going to affect the Nyala. It's a very, very dim LED light. It's not nearly as bright as it looks on your screen. So it's almost pitch black to my eyes, and I have to actually, when I want to see where the Nyala is, I've actually got to look at my viewing monitor. So don't worry, we're not affecting it, and we're certainly not going to put any direct light onto it. We want it to have the best chance it can. It's coming out of the water now. I will tell you that the dogs are coming. Now, if the dogs come this way, I'm going to have to kill the light, I'm afraid. The Nyala is now out of the water. So I don't want to shine the light on it at all now. So I've taken the light clean off it, so I don't want to affect whether the dogs kill it or not. We could very easily stick a spotlight on it and the dogs would come running, I'm sure. They are coming. They are actually coming. If they get around here, I'm going to kill the light, everybody. I'm very sorry about that. You can see them running there. Right, I'm going to kill the light, and we're just going to listen. Here they come. They're coming past us. We'll tell you if we hear them kill. Oh, it's gone back into the water. The dogs are growling. You can't even see anybody. I'm sorry about this, but really, one day we will get an infrared camera. We'll also possibly get... There's another elephant there coming down. Sorry, I'm just going to turn the light on. I need to see what's going on, just in case. There we go, we're okay. So we're sitting here basically in the pitch black darkness, a glorious little horizon there, sort of dimly lit, and Paul and Monique very good questions about who can see in the dark, how well the Nyala sees in the dark, can the dog see in the dark. The Nyala will see better than us, but not as well as a cat in the darkness. And likewise, the dogs will probably see about as well as the Nyala can see. So much better than us, but not very well. Ooh, here come the hippo. I'm just going to quickly flash the light on. Okay, the hippo are going for the Nyala now. Oh dear, they're on it. They're right there. So I know you can't see anything. The hippo, from what I can see, and I mean I'm pretty much staring into the darkness here. I'm going to just flick the light on quickly. I still can't really see because I've turned it. The first hippo is no more than 6 feet from the Nyala. The pups are all pretty close by on the right hand side of your picture. We're just going to probably have to leave the camera on the angle that it is, because that's the only way you're going to see that you're actually receiving a picture. So just to reiterate, if you've just joined us, diurnal animals, Nyala's diurnal, dogs are diurnal. We don't want to attract any other predators. We could do that if we turned the light on. We could also blind the Nyala, which would put it at an unfair advantage. So while this is unfortunately not easy for you to see, well, it's impossible for you to see, I will narrate through what I can see. And one day, when we have the equipment for it, we'll be able to do this without affecting anything. There have been 2 elephants that have come past here that I have seen. One just very quietly in the bush to the left-hand side of your screen, and the other a big bull who was shouting because he saw the predators, and that's very common with elephants. Now, all the dogs are right in front of us, all 11 of them. I can just see 11 little shadows. The hippo, that's a hippo snorting. I'm sure they're getting closer to the Nyala. They're probably watching the dogs as well. So we'll just keep sitting right where we are. And thank you, Suzanne, for your compliment and understanding that we can't, of course, turn the light on. That is just the way of things. The dogs have now moved off en masse to the right-hand side of your screen. I'm not sure why they've done that. If you listen carefully, you can hear them drinking. And possibly a good time, while there's a bit of a hiatus in the action here, possibly a good time to talk about the social structure of dogs. And Country Girl Ash, you want to know, do they run like wolf packs? They run exactly like wolf packs. 2 alphas, alpha male and female, will take care of the breeding, and then there's a beta pair, and sometimes they breed, and most of the time they don't, and often the alpha pair will kill the beta pair's pups if they do have them, but yeah, that's exactly how it goes, and the rest is a very strict dominance hierarchy. So there is a hiatus. The hippo has moved away from the Nyala. The distance is now about 20 meters. That is about 70 feet. So that kind of interaction has stopped. The dogs are off to the right-hand side. You may be able to hear the pups making the odd whining sound. Not that. That was a bird. Another bird. Now, what we did when we watched these dogs at the beginning, they were chasing this nyala through the bush, and eventually the nyala leapt into the water. And Sandra, you want to know if the nyala could outrun the dogs? No. That's why it took the chance to leap into the water. On a straight, if you had 100 meters straight and you put a nyala against a wild dog, I think it would be a pretty close race. But with a pack of them, after one, you see what they do is that they separate out that was dogs you heard. They're all around the dam now in different places. So what happens is the pack separates out the nyala cow from the little herd, and because there are so many of them and only one of her, there's a lot of panic. She can't see where they're going. They're running through the woodland. The odds are really stacked in the dog's favor. So very difficult for her to then outrun the dogs in an environment like this. We've done a bit of a discussion today about the hierarchy of predators, of the top 5 predators here, not to be confused with the big 5, an antiquated term that in my opinion should never be used again. But the top 5 predators, Ravi in New York, wonderful questions we're getting from you today, thank you for them. Lions at the top. You've said jaguars. Jaguars, of course, don't occur here. They occur in South America. You probably meant leopard. So how it goes here is lions, they're big and in groups. Hyenas, they're almost as big and in groups. Then dogs, they're smaller but in a group. Then the leopard, and then the cheetah. The 2 solitary predators way below the other 3. And that is simply because of the fact that they cannot take risks. The dogs, the hyenas, and the lions are prepared to take risks because they live in groups, and it therefore means that even should they be injured, they will still be able to eat. So that's the kind of predator hierarchy that we have here, Ravi. The dogs are pretty much third and second. It depends on the numbers as to where they sit. And it's purely got to do with the amount of risk that they can take and then size. So at the moment, the hippos have moved even further away from the nyala. They are about 30 meters, Brian? 30-ish. That's almost 90 to 100 feet. And they seem to be thinking about coming out of the water to go and graze. The dogs, I've actually lost sight of. I'm going to flick that because there's not much action going on. I'm just going to flick the light on quickly and see if we can see them. They've gone. You know that? You see the dogs?
No.
The dogs have gone. That's interesting. I wonder if that one that was on its own didn't make a kill. Called the others away. We'll just lift the light a little bit so that it's not shining straight onto the dam. The dogs have gone. I can't hear them anymore. So we had lots of very good questions about whether or not they'd stay, whether they'd outweight it, and I think what's happened is either the other adult has killed and perhaps called them and they're now going to look there, or they're around the corner huddling in a group. They will need to stay in a group, of course, because what happens is that once the night falls, of course their vision is that much poorer, and there's no moon, so they don't see very well. I'm just going to kill the light again, I'm afraid. I don't want to affect the interaction between the nyala and the hippo. So we'll kill that light. The other light's having no effect on it at all. Okay, so I think the dogs have gone to ground. Either that or they've gone off to try and find something else to eat with the other pack member. But there's no moon tonight, and so it's going to be very dark, and they won't hunt in light like this. It's dangerous for them to hunt in light like this. They run at such a speed that the chances of them ripping out their guts, and this does happen, especially with cheetah, who run at 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles per hour, they if they're running and they don't see what's going on, they can sort of run over the top of a sharp stump and cut themselves and really hurt themselves badly. And the dogs, you know, they run at such a lick through this woodland that they won't hunt on a dark night like this. So let's just sit here for a few more minutes. I don't think there's any real point in us disappearing from here. And those dogs are now moving with the pack. So we had 11 pups and 3 adults, and the youngsters are now moving with the pack. And what that means, just to dovetail into Monique's next question, in London, that means that they don't have a den anymore. They've left the den, they're now running with the pack. And this is the first time I've actually seen the pups hunting with the pack. We've seen them moving with the pack before, and then the adults have normally left them bunched underneath a bush somewhere. They'll go off and hunt and then come back and regurgitate food for the pups. It's the first time I've seen the pups actually on the hunt with the adults, which is very exciting. Just quickly to finish off, I'm not sure that I answered Ravi's question correctly, where you wanted to know, Ravi, the success rate of the predators, of those top 5 predators. What's the kind of hierarchy? Definitely the dogs are the most successful. They kill about 70% of the time that they chase, which is astonishing. It's at least double. Lions, probably, leopards are probably about 40%, lions about 30%, hyenas, what's going on here? I'm just going to have a quick look. No, that Nyala's now in trouble. All 3 hippo are moving towards it. If they do attack it, I will turn the light on, because there's not, we're not going to affect it if there's an actual attack. Let's just watch what's happening here. I can't see. I can see as much as you can at the moment. But we'll be able to hear if something goes kawula. So I think that we've got 8 minutes left of the drive. I don't think there's any point in us going anywhere else. We're not going to spot anything else. So I'm also not even sure I'll be able to start the car. So let's wait here, let's see what develops. Dogs have gone, might be close by. Let's see what the hippo do. I'll keep an eye on it, or I'll keep an ear on it while I just answer the rest of Ravi's question. So dogs at the top, probably leopard and hyena around the next. Lions at about 30%. I think cheetah only I think they only catch about 20% of what they chase, maybe 30. So dogs way out in front, with about 7 in 10 chases resulting in a kill. So interesting, I've just caught a whiff of them. Did you smell that? Just got a little breeze. I wonder if they aren't just off to the left hand side there. Little whiff of the dogs, very strong smelling. Debbie, I must agree with you that I find it quite amusing that we were sitting here in the dark waiting for something to happen, turned the lights on and poof, gone. Yes, bit of egg on the face there. But I think we'll just sit here for the next 8 minutes. Oh dear, sorry. So this pack is a very small adult pack of only 3, and then there are 11, of course, little pups. And so that's quite a small pack. And you will see pictures of packs of up to 24, sometimes 30 animals at a time. And Ollie, in the UK, you want to know, does the pack ever get too big, such that it would split? Yes, I suppose it would. It's unusual though. So, I mean, to have a pack of, say, 24 adults is highly unusual. Normally, because of the offspring leaving every year, the actual adult pack is very seldom. Still no contact. The actual pack is very seldom more than, say, 12 adults, maybe up to 18 adults, and they'll be happy with that. I'd say probably, I'm just keeping an eye out here, I would say greater than 18 when the oil is coming out the water. You just see a kind of sort of black shadow moving towards us. I'm going to flick the light on. Yeah, she's making her way out of the water now. I'm rather rooting for her at the moment, I must say. Hoping that she'll get out and survive. Yeah, she's walking slowly out. So Ollie, I would say about 18 is probably about the size limit of an adult pack. But it very seldom gets to that size where they're all adults in the pack together. Normally there'll be some youngsters there and they'll move off after the first year. Males in one direction, females in another direction, and they'll form packs with other dogs. A small pack like this, like I say, I think we'll find that some of them will stay for the next year. The Nyala is now out of the water, and it does beg the question, where are the dogs? And as Christy has asked, will it know that they're gone? I don't know, Christy. If those dogs get wind of it, they'll come now. But if it can sneak away and get a little bit of distance between it and the dam, it might be okay. Now, it's come out of the dam. I feel it is rather stupidly going the same direction that it did the first time it came out. You smell the dogs again. They're still around. Okay, it's gone round the corner, so I'm going to turn the light on. I'm not so worried about the hippo and the light. It's just going round the corner, so we can't see it anymore. So we'll just turn the light on so that there's a little bit of light in the situation. So we saw those two elephants earlier. I think you got a brief visual of those tusks shining in the darkness there from that bull, and then I saw a cow just around the other side just after that first time that the Nyala came out of the water. And Monique, you want to know what comes down to drink at night? Monique, there's no rule. You will find, though, it's more likely to be the nocturnal animals. Elephants often drink at nighttime, though. And I mean, the best way to check that is to flick onto the Djuma Dam cam or the Arathusa camera or the Tau camera, which is in Madikwe, or that one at Pete's Pond, and watch it at night time. Maybe flick it on, keep it in the bottom screen of your TV perhaps, and you'll see that lots of things come down to drink at night. I've seen plenty. Rhino will come and drink at night, buffalo will come and drink at night. Normally the bigger animals that aren't in such danger, certainly some predators will come and drink at night. You'll probably find that smaller things like Nyala and Impala will avoid drinking during the night time because obviously they can't see what's going on. So the Nyala's gone around the corner. The hippo thought about getting out the water. And I think it's quite unusual that these hippo have not come out of the water. Normally they'd come out just after dark and they'd go off and start grazing. And Ellen in Arkansas, well, that pretty much answers your question. Will they come out? But are they not coming out because of the dogs? I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, these dogs pose no danger to hippopotamus. I suspect they came out yesterday with Brent standing here, so I'm not sure why they aren't coming out now. There are 3 of them there. And they're pretty much nocturnal, so we do shine lights on them. Doesn't seem to have any effect on them at all. So I've heard nothing further. Thank you for your very kind compliments, Joanne, on my narrating skills. We are soon to be departing. Now I'm just going to have a quick listen. I definitely didn't hear anything. Brian, you didn't hear anything, did you? I think we would have heard the Nyala. All right, that's it, everyone. Lovely yawn from the hippo, a bit of a yawn from me coming up, and also Brian, thank you. Wonderful afternoon, incredible questions and comments. Thank you so much for them. Big thank you to Brian, holding the cell phone, doing about 30 things. He's using his feet as well at the moment. Thank you to Louise and Tara and Brent, the broken aerial of Wendy and Andrew. We will see you tomorrow morning, 5:30 in the morning. I hope you had a good time tonight. I certainly had an incredible time. We'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye.